Welcome back to another segment of Behind the Scenes of the Waltons. Today, I'm being joined by three very special ladies. These were three women who served as guardians for children on the Waltons before we turned old enough to no longer need a guardian. So please help me in welcoming Cori, Barbie, and Joyce. So I'm just going to start off by thanking you all for coming. And I really appreciate that you all are taking the time to come and share these stories and whatever we can all remember from 40 or 50 years ago.
You don't want to remember some of it.
Well, those might be some of the best stories, but we'll censor as needed. So for the viewers, we have Cori and Barbie and Joyce. Awesome. Welcome.
I'm new to this Zoom stuff. Okay.
You're doing great. You're
better than we did.
Whatever.
We see you. We hear you. It's perfect. So I guess I'll just sort of start off by asking each of you individually how it was that you came to be, who you were a guardian for, and if that changed or added or whatever over the time period. How you kind of came to be a guardian and who you were a guardian for. So Joyce, who were you a guardian for and how did that come about?
Well, you were my first Walton and you were 13 and your mom, Connie, worked with my girlfriend, Pat, in Orbox department store in Panorama City in the San Fernando Valley. And Connie was in credit and Pat was in gift wrap, and they ended up going to lunch together. And then Connie said, I need somebody to take my daughter on the movie set. And she says, I know who you can get. My girlfriend Joyce, she's movie crazy. So there I was. And I was with you until your mom retired and became your guardian. And then I took Mary for a while and I took David toward the end.
Wow. Now we started on the homecoming, you and I. Yeah.
That was September 1971 at CBS Studio Center in Studio City.
Wow. Yeah.
We did about 3 weeks. And then you guys went to Jackson Hole and I didn't go. Connie went in my place. Good for her. And in May of 72, it became a series and I started taking, I think you for a little bit and then Mary and then David.
Awesome. So how many... Were you there through all 9 seasons of the show?
No. I think I was there for 4 or 5, maybe. Yeah. So I loved it. I'm a movie crazy person anyway. So I just love any kind of filming I just love it. Yeah, I loved it. I'm an only child. So I suddenly had all this big family around me. And I had a crush on Fielder Cook, the director. Oh.
That's interesting. All 3 of us are only children.
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing?
Well, I was adopted, and a few years ago, I found out a lot about myself. I have a lot of wonderful cousins now.
Nice.
Did the spit. So there you go.
That's great.
I'm not sure which of you or Cori was sort of the next one, or whether you both kind of came in at the same time.
I came in right after Joyce for Cammie, and a friend of a friend's working with Cammie's dad, and he's the one that said we need to have a person. So my friend's girlfriend took care of Cammie on Me and the Chimp, Paramount Studio.
Yeah.
And Cammie wasn't a fan of Mary, but they dealt with each other. And then Mary invited me to come with her to see what it's like at the studios because I was unemployed. So I went with her. And apparently Cammie liked me better than she liked Mary. And I couldn't peel her off of me. She was stuck to me like glue. And so Me and the Chimp ended, thank God, after 13 episodes. They were canceled after 5, but they had to film 13. And then I parted ways with Barbara, Cammie's mother, just because she just took off with the kid and did her own thing. And then I got a phone call a little while later, a couple of months later, that said, would you still be interested in taking care of my daughter on the Waltons? And I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm still unemployed. So that's how I ended up going to the Waltons and coming in and meeting all the moms and thinking they're all a little older than me. And then they introduced me to Joyce. And I was like, yes, Joyce is my age. So we hooked
Well,
up and we became close friends. And then Cori came along. Yeah.
The last in
Yes. But the last out.
and the last out. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I only lasted 4 seasons myself.
And then my mom took over, right?
Right. Because that's when Cammie was living around the corner from my parents down in Rossmore in Orange County. So it was easy for me to pick her up and take her up. And they agreed, and I agreed too. It's just too much for her to go in the car for 2 hours in each direction with all the traffic. So they moved. And that's when your mom took over because you reached adulthood, quote unquote. So she was there for both of you. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Cammie, moved right so close to the studio. So it was easy for my mom to just swing by and grab her.
Yeah. It worked out well.
Yeah. All right, Cori, what's your story?
Well, similar to Barb's, I was studying dance, and one of the girls that was in my dance troupe's mother owned a boutique store that was pointed towards young girls. And Mary used to shop there with her mom. And the mom and my friend's mom who owned the store talked, and I guess Betty said, oh God, I really need someone to take Mary to the studio. And she recommended, I know somebody that's looking for work. That was me. And that's how it became. It was just really strange. But yes, that's how it was. I never met either of them till the first day I picked her up at her house.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
I talked to her on the phone, but that was it.
Okay, good.
I think. I don't
Talk
remember.
about a blind date.
It was a blind date.
And do you know which season that was?
Oh, God.
Wasn't it 2?
I want to say, when was The Fawn? That's the first show that I saw her in. So that would have been, I don't know when that was.
Okay. I don't know if that was the 2nd or 3rd season. I
think it was the 2nd season because I wasn't there that long. And then Cori came on board.
And we were the Walton Weasel Wranglers.
Yes.
Oh.
that was Eddie Villa who started that. He was the prop master.
Yeah.
Well,
God bless Eddie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was so funny. He
He's
just
hilarious.
was laughing all the time. But yeah, I remember, I have no idea what show was being shot when I started. I just remember being left on the back lot with no car and Cammie. And we started walking to the stage. And Richard had just gotten his driver's license, apparently, unbeknownst to me, and picked us up and took us to the studio, to the stage. And I swore then and there I would never get in the car with that man again. And that was the first time I met him. It was the scariest ride from the back lot to the stage.
And that wasn't that far.
Yeah, it wasn't that far. I was like, I'll walk the next time or have my own car. Yeah, it was an interesting ride, to say the least.
Well, he was a new driver.
Yeah.
He got better.
To me, I guess because he and I are only a couple of months apart in age, I assumed he was a driver because we all were in Southern California. I didn't know he was raised in New York and his background. And of course, he just got his driver's license. But he was a little crazy behind the wheel of the car. He got better later, but in the beginning, wow. Yeah, that was fun. Cammie and I were holding on for dear life.
Wow. Well, Cammie was pretty fearless.
Yeah, she was very fearless and she was really tiny, so she could just bounce and she was fine. She was good.
So what were you told in terms of, or what did you feel were your duties or responsibilities as a guardian?
When I started taking you, you have 3 hours of school a day. And it was about an 8-hour day. And we all went to lunch together. We went to the Magic Apple in Burbank.
Oh my goodness.
Wonderful food. And the Kosherama, half Jewish deli, half Chinese, IHOP, and Bob's Big Boy.
Bob's Big
Now
Boy.
that's from memory, huh? And for those who are listening, each episode was about 6.5 working days, and then they alternated directors. And I had a crush on Alf Shalene. Oh my God. Anyway, so that's what it was like. But my duties were to pick up you or David or Mary and bring them to the set. Yeah. And we also did, don't you remember, you guys, we did revisions. They'd bring the revisions, which are the changes in the scripts.
Yeah.
And they were always a different color, like A and B. And we always used to put those in the script, and it was.
It didn't help a whole lot with Cammie because I had to read her lines so she could memorize them because she couldn't read yet.
Oh, wait a minute. She went to the Montessori school, and so did her brother. And she was reading the New York Times at 6 years old.
Yeah. So when I had her at 5, she was 5, 6, and she was still learning words and the whole memorizing the script. But she got better, much better. Yeah.
Wow.
But in terms of anything else, of course, we had a studio teacher who was also a welfare worker,
right?
Who kind of was responsible for overseeing our the rules of working with the children and the hours and things like that. But did you feel that you had any other responsibility to make sure that we were safe?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
We were there for your welfare and encompassing their safety, their health, their mental health, their emotional health, and make sure they get fed, they get recess of some kind, they can play a little bit, all that kind of stuff. We had to follow the rules and make sure that the kids are protected. Especially the 3 littlest, because they were the littlest. And a lot of times the adult ADs and directors and stuff might bark at the kid. And it was like, don't bark at my child. Not unless they absolutely deserve it. Do not bark at that child. So you got really motherly protective with the children that you were taking care of.
I have a story.
Good.
Of how I had to stand in for Mary or stand up for Mary. And I don't know if you guys were there or not, but there was an AD who was, how should I put it? I'm not going to name names. Aggressive? Maybe, whatever. And they were shooting inside in the store, Gutsy's store. And it was running close to the 8 hours. We're going to be up. And so I'm standing there because Glenn was still in the classroom. And looking at my
teacher at that point.
Right. And I'm looking at my watch and I'm looking at him and I'm looking at Mary and they're saying, oh no, we're going to do one more take. And I'm like, no, no, I can't let you do that. You're going to have to get permission from Glenn. Okay. And he started and he was a little aggressive towards me. He started coming at me, yelling at me. And I just stood there. And the crew, the ones that were at the top, I always get the gaffers and the whatever, the guys up on the scaffolding at the top with the lights, whatever they're called, they started to lean over like they were going to jump down to protect me. And the other guys on the crew were moving towards. The director, the AD backed off. Glenn came in. I probably could have said, yeah, go ahead, because it wasn't that long, but that wasn't my job, not my decision. So yeah, it was interesting. And it showed how much we became part of the crew, and some of them just became protective of us.
They did.
Because they we get barked at. So yeah, it was a fun experience. That was weird. That was a weird day. But other than that.
Yeah, for the most part, it worked out. Well, I had an incident with Cammie where the AD yelled at her because she offered her opinion.
No, don't do that.
She will.
And the AD turned around and goes, shut up. You're only 6 years old. What do you know?
I think that might have been the same one I had.
And I think so, too. I think there was an issue with that particular AD. And so I pulled her aside and I'm patting her on the back. And I said, he's just angry about something else and he took it out on you. It's okay. You're okay. And then he turned around and yelled at her for crying and said, you're in an adult world. Act like it. And that's when Mother Bear came out. And I turned on him and I said, you need to make up your mind. Is she a child or is she an adult?
Mm-hmm.
And he said, well, she's in an adult world. And I said, and she's a little girl. She was just offering her opinion. You can either listen to it, take her advice, or ignore her, but don't yell at her and then yell back at her because she's not acting the way you want her to act. And this is off scene. This isn't being shot. He's just being rude. And she was really freaked out for a couple of minutes. And then they asked her, what was her opinion? And she said how she thought the shot should be. And they did it that way. And that was the cut that was in the show.
Wow.
So Cammie knew what she was doing. She thought she wanted to share it. And by golly, she did.
that was Cammie.
Yeah. But ADs got a little carried away sometimes. And that's when we had to be the guardian, the other mother, and protect her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think I had anything going on. David was never looked at the revisions. He had a photographic memory.
Oh.
He just knew it,
Wow.
But yeah.
Yeah, it was amazing how smart all you guys were. I mean, it was interesting to see, from the age, how bright these kids were, that they memorized their lines. They knew their lines. They were prepared every single day. They knew how to stay kids and go to work and knew your responsibility. Yeah, you too, Judy. Knew your responsibilities as a cast member and an actor. So it was pretty impressive I thought, to see it in action. Some of the directors, I mean, I know there was a thing saying if you can't work with kids or animals, don't work on the Waltons.
Right.
Because
Harry Harris.
Harry Harris.
Walking, and action. I'll never forget him.
Very good.
But it was fun, and it was really interesting. And to your point, Joyce, I still enjoy the technical aspects of film, and I'm one of those really annoying people that when I'm watching the movie or something, I spot every mistake.
Oh yeah.
A continuity mistake. It's like,
Yes.
wait a minute, there was a phone over there. Now there's not a phone. I mean, it's really pathetic.
Well, it's not pathetic. We're
like
just
that,
very
yeah.
observant. Yes. So observant we annoy people. But I totally. Do you remember the rushes?
Oh, the dailies.
Yeah, I think Cori was with me. I'm not sure. One of you was with me. And we went in to watch them for whatever reason. And the opening shot of the Waltons had Leon Shada's prop bicycle in the front. And I said, that's the bicycle that's on the television. And they all looked at it. And I don't know, Jax was in there or somebody big shot, one of the big shots. And they went, oh my God. And they couldn't believe that was his bicycle that was in the 1932 shot of the Waltons with a banana, but it had those bananas with high handlebars. And Leon Shada, props, Warner Brothers.
Oh.
And I looked at that. No one's ever seen that. We were like halfway through season 2. And it was like, but when it was on television, thank God for 19-inch televisions, you couldn't tell. It just looked like a bicycle. It was fine. Nowadays, I'm sure people can stop and enlarge their screen.
Oh, yeah.
I hear about it all the time from viewers. We start playing a little game about people will point out things they spotted. And do you remember John Dayton? He was one of the production assistants for a number of seasons. And he had explained about, the change of the size of the television screen and the aspect ratio relative to what the camera operator saw through the lens, that he could see like a square of what the television would see. And he could also see around that things that he could see, but weren't going to be in the television. So when we originally aired, and John explained this, when the show originally aired, there were things that, they'd say, can you see that? He goes, no, like that boom mic, it's not in frame. I can see it, but it's not in the TV frame.
Yeah.
But then when they switched, and now we have these, different aspect ratio TVs, all of a sudden things that hadn't been visible are now visible. So a lot of the things that I think viewers are seeing now, you wouldn't have originally seen.
Right.
Do you guys remember the fan mail?
Oh,
Yeah.
bags of
Barbie
it.
and I went up to the office to get the fan mail.
Yeah.
For the first few times it came, and do you remember a name, Coy Quinley?
No.
Yeah, why do I remember
He
that?
was thinking the show is real.
There were a few people who did.
There were quite a few.
And he
Yeah.
was asking Judy to marry him and all this. And finally, Mary got some letters from him and everything. And they finally said, don't write to him anymore.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting fan mail.
Yeah, the fan mail was interesting. I sorted it a lot when I would still take her to school, and you guys probably did too. When they weren't filming, they still had to do their 3 hours. So it was go there, sit there for 3 hours, doing nothing, talking to the other moms and guardians. Your mom was so nice, Judy, and she was so pretty, and I was jealous of her hair. She had great hair. So opening the bags of mail and opening it up and kind of sorting it by, this person's not, sorting the mail for you guys to look at, quickly look at.
Remember when Elton John visited?
Yes. I remember I was standing, I turned over and I looked, we were on the back lot.
Yep.
And the limo pulls up. And he's standing right next to me, looking at, his glasses were like that thick. And he probably, I'm 5'6", and he was shorter than I am. And that was when he was wearing the really high shoes. Yeah. And then he had a concert that night or one of those nights.
It was the following weekend. Yeah.
And I took Mary to the concert, and that was fun.
Yeah.
And then the next day, he had his birthday party up at Universal Studios up by the
on the back lot area.
And I took Mary to that. And that was really fun. That was really fun.
I didn't get to go to that. Jeez.
Yeah, I got dragged. Mary dragged me around a lot because she thought I was fun to be with.
Well, at that age, much as I love my mom, I was like, you'd far rather I would have rather continued to have you as a guardian, Joyce, because I had fun with you, and your mom's your mom.
Well, that's what I thought about when Cammie moved up to the studio area and Connie took over. I went, oh, Judy turns 18 and she still has her mom.
Yeah.
My mom was at the studio for the entire time I was working.
That's right. She was.
Your mom used to do alterations for Ellen Corby. She used to fit all her polyester pants, all different colors. She did a beautiful job.
Yeah. No, she was quite a talented seamstress. And then she did embroidery work on, remember when she would do all those like denim shirts and stuff, and she embroidered flowers and things on
We
them.
all did that.
I think she taught us how to do that.
Yes. And she taught me how, and I made a lion head on the front of my jeans down
I
on
still have that story when they did a story about it.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
And
I remember Eric's mom. God bless her.
The other Judy. Yeah.
Taught me how to crochet. I must have made 3 Afghan blankets during my tenure there. Oh, yeah.
You had a lot of time. Yeah, a lot
of time to do it.
I did Christmas decorations one year. You become very crafty when you are sitting hours when the kids aren't shooting and they're in school, and you're just like, okay, now what do we do? Okay. I remember that Elton John thing, though, Cori, because I came out of the honey bucket right as his limo pulled up, and you were waiting for me. And Elton got out and stood next to you, and we're both shaking. Not imagine.
It was just like, oh my God,
it's Elton John.
And the Waltons was his favorite show.
Yes, and he wanted to meet Will Geer.
Of course,
and Richard. Yeah.
And so we walked him past Drusilla's pond and took him all the way to the back lot, and he was thrilled. And you and I were both like, rock on. We were with Elton John.
Hanging with Elton.
And then he came into our schoolroom, into our trailer, and chatted with us for...
Oh, did he?
Yeah. Yeah, which was a real thrill for all of us. And then, of course, we went to the concert, and Ellen went to the concert.
Yeah. She recorded it. She taped it.
Did she? Ooh. Ooh.
Mhm.
She was great. She was so sweet.
Yeah.
Well, remember when she would come, I'll never forget, she came up to Cori and I think you were there too, Joyce, and she said, I got back from Vegas just in time to get back for the show, and did a hitch kick and went into the splits.
Yeah, she's funny.
And she was 72 years old at the time. I'm just like, I want to be her.
Yeah,
I love
my
that
girl.
woman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were lots of interesting people there.
Do you remember the lion she gave me?
No.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
A little handmade wooden lion with a hemp rope body and tail.
Mhm.
And she had gotten it on safari when she was in Africa in the 20s.
Wow.
And a Zulu chief made it for her because
Wow.
it was a strong woman to travel alone and do what she did. And she gave me that lion because she knew I collected lions.
That's sweet. She was sweet.
I still have that lion to this day. I love that lion. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Amazing.
What do you remember about Will Geer? People ask about Will Geer all
Oh,
the time.
good Lord.
Oh my goodness.
Anthem.
After a while, I thought of him as my grandfather. He was one of a kind, I guess is the best way I could put it. He was amazing. And it was great when it would either be when you guys would go off the rails or he'd forget lines or whatever at the kitchen scenes, and those scenes where he's just kind of babbling. That's just kind of covering for him not remembering his lines, and it was funny. I mean, it was just really funny. He would just and I remember him sitting in the back lot, just sitting in the bushes, just sitting there. And I remember one time, I think it was probably me going, oh God, I'm so bored. And he goes, you should never be bored. There's so many wonderful things in the world. You should never be bored. And I was like, whoa. Yeah, no, he was special.
I was there the day he had a heart attack on the set because he didn't eat breakfast. All of a sudden, there was a big thud, and the paramedics came in and they were carrying him out. And Ellen says, calm down, old man. And he said, I need a woman in my life. That's what I need. And he came back and he was fine after that.
Oh, my God.
I was there the day that Ellen was always on time, always ready, just the consummate professional. And one day she wasn't there at her call time. People are like, what is she? And the AD at the time started calling her and there was no answer. So he took off to go to her house. And that was the day that she had her stroke.
Yeah.
And she had dragged herself, I guess, out onto her balcony so that somebody would, see her and get her. Mm-hmm. And I just got chills now saying that. But that was a rough day on set. That was a rough day on set.
Well, when you were talking about Will Geer, Cori, do you remember going to Theatricum Botanica when he very first opened?
Yep.
And remember the bowls of pre-rolled? Yeah. Yep. And he would hand that out to everybody, and we'd have wine and cheese and anything we wanted. And I'll never forget the sun was setting behind him, and we just went, Will, put on underwear.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because he was wearing his caftan. Yeah, it was funny. So, I remember being there in the beginning.
It's still going.
I know.
Theater. Yeah. I think that theater in Topanga Canyon is still going.
It is. And I used to take Topanga Canyon to work when I worked in Santa Monica. And I would always, so I was like a canyon rat. And when there was a performance, the line of cars on Topanga that people are going into that theater, I was, it's still pretty popular.
And Woody Guthrie's cabin's on the property.
Really?
Yeah. He was a friend of Will.
Right. And Arlo.
I don't remember all this. I don't know.
I know, right? I know. It's when Judy sent the email, I'm thinking, oh my God. And all these things just start flowing back in your brain. And you're just going, oh yeah.
Barbie, do you remember this actor we loved named Richard Hatch?
Oh, boy, do I remember. I'll never
So he was on what? All My Children, I think?
Yes. Phil Brent. All My Children.
And he's gone now, unfortunately, but he was gorgeous. Big cheek, beautiful cheekbones, blue eye. And we kept saying to Earl Hamner, you got to get Richard Hatch to do on the show. Well, there he was one day getting a haircut. I went, oh my God.
He came out of that.
He was so nice.
You came out of that room and your eyes were bulging. And I went, what? And he went, our prayers have been answered.
Yeah, he's here.
And I just
Yeah,
went,
he was really nice to all of us. Yeah.
I used to see him at the grocery store after all said and done. Yeah.
well, he was Wade Walton. Good old Wade.
Yeah, that's right.
And Beulah Monday was his mother.
Yeah.
She was
grandmother.
amazing.
Yes.
Yeah.
I will.
Grandmother.
Another thing that impressed me is she was. I mean,
Sharp as
was
a-
she around in the silent era? I mean, she was.
Yes.
Yeah. Mhm.
And of course, her character had my name, Corinne. So it's like, okay. But she, there was a scene and she had a full page. It was a monologue. She had like a full page dialogue to do. One take. And it was just like, whoa. Yeah. We saw some amazing actors when we were there.
That's what I remember so much is all the different people that came on to set to either work in a role or to visit for Will or Ellen because they had worked with them before. And so many famous people. And I've had kids that I work with now ask me, who are the famous people you met? And I start rattling off names and they don't know any of them.
Of course, I know, right?
Our fans will. So who can you go ahead, name drop?
Who
came through?
Well, but Cori and I got an experience with Burt Reynolds and James Caan in a golf cart.
Chasing us in a golf cart through the studio.
Yeah. And then they gave us a ride to the back lot eventually. And that was kind of scary, almost as scary as Richard. But we, Paul Newman and Robert Redford, and we saw Barbara Streisand and Ephraim Zimbalist Jr. And there was just so many famous people. James Franciscus, just a lot of very famous people that came through to visit or were in the show that we all got a chance to meet and experience. And I remember coming home at night and calling my mom. Yeah, today I met Robert Redford. He wanted to say hi to Will Geer because they worked in Jeremiah Johnson together. And she's like, oh my God.
Where was I? I didn't get to meet him.
I didn't meet him either.
I didn't meet him either.
We were in school or we were working or then when I was 18,
you weren't there.
I wasn't always there. Yeah.
Well, and that's the other part of it. These guys would come cruising in while the kids were in school and they were shooting something with the adults and he's quiet. And you see them and they whisper, do you know where so-and-so is? And you point, and that's the only time you really interact with them. But yet they're all there. They've all cruised through. Yeah, I remember Robert Redford asking me where Will Geer was, and I nearly dropped to the ground. I just was, I don't know, but he might be over there.
Thank you for joining us for this segment with the Guardians from the Waltons. I'll be back with more behind the scenes of the Waltons, more Ask Judy, and more special guests. Thanks for watching.